Greetings, traveler. Have you ever felt lost as to which game project to pursue next? You have all these great ideas, all these great opportunities for people to work with, projects to work on, and so on, but nothing seems to take off really in a way that makes you feel confident and makes you want to work on that project for a long time, and most importantly, get the success from that project, money or otherwise, to reward you for all the effort that you put into the game. So I certainly have felt stuck in that sort of situation. So today what I want to do is share with you a story, rather a conversation I had with my girlfriend the other day specifically about this topic, and also share my framework for thinking about which project to pursue, which game to focus on, and how to select among all the possibilities. If you don't know who I am, my name is Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for over 14 years now, and something I didn't know when I started my career was that people usually don't have that much time to work on games. And what I mean by that is we think that first we'll work on an action game, then we'll do a racing game, then we'll do a RPG, then we'll do a strategy game, and then we'll do 10 other games. We'll get to work on these projects and see them released and have a successful release and all that. That's what I thought starting the journey I did in the games industry. But what I found out is that the reality of it is the average person only gets to work on 4 or 5 projects throughout their career. And you're probably thinking, 4 or 5 projects sounds very short, right? Surely there must be time for more. Well, on one hand, the average person apparently only stays in the games industry for about 5 years before changing into something else. So already 4 or 5 projects is quite ambitious. But even for people who get to stick with it longer, typically what happens in a game project, even a small one, it will take several years from start to finish, right? So it takes a while for the project to get ramped up, and then there is the main production, and then there's the release, and usually there's some work after the release, there is some support and so on. And that whole process, even if it sounds small initially, even if it sounds short because the game is presumably a small one, it does tend to take a crazy long amount of time. So even if you stick with the games industry for a really long time, you might only work on 4 or 5 big games or a few smaller ones depending on the size. So we're talking about this with my girlfriend the other day, and for context, she's a sound designer in another big game company. But even though she's very good at her skill, she's also good at other things like 3D modeling, like voice acting, like scenario writing. And any of these skills, they're not as good as her main skill that she uses at work, but any of these things she could be doing on the side, she could be doing in parallel with her sound work. At least that's how she feels. And that, she said, creates a lot of anxiety for her. She knows that she could be pursuing all these things, and she's already good enough to be doing it at a professional level. So it feels like a waste not pursuing these other skills, these other paths, these other potential game projects in parallel with her main work. And we were having this conversation, and I said that that's a very normal feeling. I've had that feeling tons of times in the past. And even though it starts as a positive feeling, you're thinking of all the opportunities, all the possibilities of all the things you could make, it ends up right where she ends up, in anxiety, because you realize that there are all these possibilities, but you can only pursue so few. If you start, dividing your day in a way, or your week even, to work on all these things, what would it look like? So on one day you would work on your main game, plus a couple of hours on graphics, plus a couple of hours on, voice acting or scenario writing. And how many hours are there in a day? You still need to do, you need to take care of yourself, you need to eat and so on, and sleep is important. So just mathematically it doesn't work out. And that also reminds me of people who have come to me for advice on this, for which project to pursue, right? They did one small prototype, but then they left it in the middle because they started another prototype, and then that went well, but they found some difficult parts, so that made them start a third prototype, and so on and so on. So that is a very natural thing. It's very normal to feel this way. I think I have felt this way. And in the end, what I realized, what I heard that helped me overcome this anxiety and feel extremely happy and extremely focused in what I do is hearing this quote from Warren Buffett, who is a very famous investor, possibly the best investor of our time. His job is simply deciding where to allocate his money and what's the best choice and so on, right? So I don't know anything about investing or anything like that, but it sounds like it takes a lot of focus to take all this massive asset and allocate it in specific things. And I guess the richer you are, the more money you have to allocate. But according to him, the decision process is always the same regardless of how much money you have. So his approach is write on a piece of paper the 5 things that you want to do in your life, the top 5, projects, pursuits, jobs, or whatever, skills to improve, and so on. Write those top 5 things on a piece of paper, and then cross out the bottom 4. And then you'll have your answer as to what to do in the future. And I thought that's amazing. I thought that's really a profound piece of wisdom, because if you think about it, when you focus on one thing, you can't help but becoming better at it. Thinking back to myself and to other people who told me that, I started this thing, but then I started doing this other thing, and then I quit halfway because it was difficult, and then I started doing something else. It's inevitable that something like that will happen. There will be some difficulty that will come along the way, but just with any skill I learned up to today, sticking with it and overcoming the difficulty, learning how to solve the next problem or learn how to do something new and so on within that skill, it simply makes you more confident and more competent in that one thing you keep pursuing. If you stop it, if you drop it and you start something else, then you have to do the process all over again. It feels good in the beginning because you're going through the easy part, but when you hit the part that you've never done before, you will get stuck and it will feel uncomfortable, and your brain, our primitive mind, will seek the comfort and the positive feelings we had when we were in the easier part of this journey, because doing something easy feels good. It doesn't feel difficult in any way. So what I found is, regardless of how difficult something might seem, it's always possible to simply break it up into steps and take one step at a time. If I don't have enough knowledge or resources to take the next step in whatever I'm doing, asking for help is very obvious. I know that's also something that it's difficult for some people to do. It was extremely difficult for me to do, but at the end of the day, I had to decide for myself, what do I want to do in the end of the day? Say that I tried a lot of things and I didn't do anything, or at least achieve one thing, complete one nice game or one project that I really care about. And after I have that, perhaps I can reevaluate about what I want to do next. But that's after that part is complete. So for me, that advice of just crossing out the bottom 4 and focusing on the top 1 was very profound. And I don't know if it works for everyone, but mathematically I do know that if you pick one thing and you keep working on it, even if you hit upon a difficult part that you have to solve and you've never solved before, you have solved problems before in your life. So there's a very good chance you can solve this one too. And sticking with it will inevitably make you better at that thing. It will happen. And the better you become at this one skill, the more achievement you will achieve, because you get to do things that you couldn't do before. You can produce things that you couldn't produce before. Your output becomes better and better, and then that becomes a self perpetuating mechanism where you get positive feedback from doing this one skill or exercising this one ability. And then the more you do it, the better you become at it, the better you feel from the rewards you get from the output of your work. And then you get to the level where it becomes easy, so to speak. So you start getting that positive feeling again you got from starting many other new things that you did in the past, and you got this positive feeling from not focusing on one thing and like diverging your attention, but now you're getting it for focusing on this one skill, this one project, and the bigger it becomes, the better it becomes, the more rewarding it becomes. And that is a situation I found to keep me focused and prevent me from diverging my attention to other things, and also answers the question, which is the one project, the one skill I should focus on. For me, from all the things that I wanted to do, I chose to focus on just one of them. I've had lots of offers for doing other things or helping with something else, and I can help as much as possible. I'm happy to help anybody who has questions on this topic, if I can, but the main thing remains what I chose to do. And it has been a very long time that I've been working on this. It feels like a lifetime already, although it's not nearly as long. And now I'm starting to see the benefits. Now I'm starting to see the rewards for sticking with something for so long. And what this made me realize is that I could have quit midway and I could have done something else. And I could have probably gotten some small reward for changing my attention and doing that other thing. But the collective disappointment of hitting that difficult node and in this other thing, and then quitting and then starting another thing, that collective disappointment of hopping from one thing to the other until I hit this difficult thing I couldn't complete would be way higher than the work and the patience I suppose I had to put in this one thing I'm focusing on until it gave me the reward and the positive reinforcement that I'm getting now. So if you're listening to this, traveler, and if you are in a situation like this, know that yes, it does feel a bit lonely, and it does feel a bit like a long journey, and it might be very, very tempting to hop onto other things, but doing so won't provide this long-lasting satisfaction and this feeling of doing what is correct for you and focusing on the thing that you care about the most. And when you become good enough for it to start rewarding you with money and attention and success or whatever it is that you're looking for, then you'll know that you made the right choice, and that sticking with it for so long was the right choice. And then you just keep enjoying more and more rewards and good feelings. Anyway, these are my thoughts on this topic for today. If you are dealing with something like this and would like more tactical advice, specifically around game development or game design or something like that, leave me a comment. Perhaps I can offer something helpful. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have fun.